My friends, there is always a point of no return in any military negotiation at sea. The exact millisecond when diplomacy evaporates, radio frequencies are abandoned, and brute force takes control of the language. What happened in the Gulf of Oman in the last few hours redefines the cost of challenging the blockade. Radio silence was replaced by kinetic impact. Iran has just discovered this in the most humiliating way possible. In the dark hours before dawn, a Panama-flagged container ship called MV Vela pointed its bow directly at an Iranian port. The ship's captain made the worst decision of his life. He ignored calls from the United States Navy. The U.S. Coast Guard warned him. The radio crackled with final warnings, but the ship kept sailing, and it is at this exact moment that the superpower changes the rules of the game. And the flying beast enters the scene, the United States Navy's Seahawk 60 helicopter. It didn't come down to provide escort. It dove in to fire 2 Hellfire missiles directly into the engine room of the civilian ship. United States Central Command confirmed the operation in writing. The ship lost propulsion, lost steering, and most importantly, it won't deliver its cargo. But what the international media can't read between the lines is the brutal genius of this attack. The point of impact wasn't a purely tactical decision by the pilot. It was a political decision made at the highest levels. Hitting the engine room is the embodiment of what we call the fire scalpel doctrine. A maneuver where you apply lethal total force but cut only the muscle you need to cut. To paralyze the enemy without killing the patient and without starting an open war. If the missile hit the command bridge, 17 civilian sailors would be dead. If it hit the cargo hull, we would have an environmental disaster and a scandal at the UN. By piercing only the propulsion machinery, the United States Navy turned a heavy military attack into a traffic ticket. The ship became a useless piece of drifting metal. No one died, and the cargo didn't reach the Ayatollah's little claws. And for you to understand the weight of this operation, we need to take a closer look at the engineering of death that allowed for this absurd level of precision. We're not talking about dumb bombs dropped from the air. We're talking about the 60 Seahawk helicopter operating alongside the AGM-114 Hellfire missile. And what this equipment does in the real world will prove you wrong. For you to understand the gravity and the level of damage that occurred in the Gulf of Oman, we need to dissect the anatomy of the beast. But first, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and leave a like on the video because it really is a lot of work to make this, my friends. The 60 Seahawk is not a civilian rescue helicopter that you see on the news. It's the navalized, brutal, and armored version of the legendary Black Hawk. We're talking about a metal monster almost 20 meters long, weighing more than 10 tons at takeoff, including fuel, state-of-the-art avionics, and firepower. This colossal structure makes it a true flying bunker, designed to take off from the narrow deck of a destroyer. In the middle of a grade 6 storm at sea in absolute darkness, maintaining unwavering stability the entire time. It is powered by 2 massive turbines. This predator tears through the ocean winds at over 330 kilometers per hour, eliminating any possibility of escape. He intercepts the enemy vessel at any point in the strait, even before the desperate sailors can cry for help on the radio. And inside the cockpit, there aren't just ordinary aircraft pilots. There is an elite, well-trained crew made up of specialists. The pilot, the co-pilot, and the lethal brain of the operation, the sensor officer. This machine and this doctrine were created to carry out the most complex hunt of the Cold War. Sweeping empty oceans, lowering sonars into the water, and sinking Soviet nuclear submarines in the freezing darkness of the Atlantic. But in today's theater of operations, the beast has evolved. With a spherical infrared vision pod on its nose, the old submarine hunter has become the executioner of Iran's surface fleet. It doesn't need to spread fire at random. It tracks the target, hovers perfectly in the air, aligns the laser directly at the mechanical heart of the ship, and executes our surgical fire doctrine. The colossus that was forged to deter the apocalypse underwater now dictates the rules and enforces the law on the surface. But now let's talk about the teeth of this beast. The Hellfire is not a gigantic missile. It weighs only 45 kilos and is just over 1.5 meters long. It was forged in the 1970s with a single purpose: to melt the heavy armor of Soviet tanks. The big technological breakthrough is its semi-active laser seeker, and the result of that is terrifying. The helicopter crew is able to keep the laser beam focused on a specific compartment of a moving ship while hovering steadily over rough waters. This surgical precision of the laser seeker allows them to neutralize a gigantic 13,000-ton ship without spilling a single drop of civilian blood. The Hellfire turns a lethal weapon of war into a tool for surgical policing on the high seas. It's the fire scalpel doctrine operating in its purest essence. You have a shaped charge warhead made to pierce through water, tempered that costs only $120,000. In military terms, that's a real bargain compared to $1 million fighter jet missile. With just 2 cheap shots, the Americans disabled a colossal structure, rescued all 17 crew members unharmed, and put them on another civilian ship. But the execution of this interception doesn't start with the helicopter. The helicopter is just the last step, the trigger pull. The Interdiction is built on a layered architecture of global surveillance. Up there, invisible, the RQ-4 Global Hawk strategic drones operate, mapping a vast maritime area. A little lower, the MQ-9 Reaper maintains watch for more than 20 uninterrupted hours of flight. Only then does the information go down to the 20 American warships in the Gulf, which try to make contact by radio. When the target mocks the radio, the helicopter takes off from the aircraft carrier deck or from the destroyer, already with the target illuminated and finger on the trigger. But then you ask me, but why would Iran risk a ship built in 1996? A true relic of 13,000 tons to test the fury of this American blockade right now? The answer lies in the pure mathematics of desperation. The Ayatollah's regime didn't test the American blockade out of military pride. They sent that ship because the arteries of the Iranian economy are bleeding uncontrollably. 55 commercial ships have already been forced to turn back. The Iranian dictatorship is suffering lethal losses that are close to $500 million a day. The American blockade is total. But what does $500 million less per day really mean on the real playing field? It means that the machinery of terrorism in the Middle East is running out of financial lubricant. Without the cash from exporting this crude oil, the leaders in Tehran can't meet the payroll of extremist groups. Hezbollah in Lebanon is starting to ration resources. The militias in Syria are running out of fresh ammunition. Every minute that the MV Vela Nova sits idle in the Gulf of Oman means less fuel and fewer spare parts for the drones. Modern warfare is above all an accounting war. Iran tried to bluff the world last week, saying it was closing a big deal with Oman and that it would start charging tolls in the Strait. They projected strength on state television. They acted like the Black Knight who says it's just a scratch. But the Pentagon doesn't argue with propaganda. It responds by shutting down the machinery, the doctrine of the diffuse scalpel. The fire proved that the Tehran regime doesn't even control the sea off its own shore. The desperation is so absurd that Kark Island, Iran's largest and most vital oil export terminal, is completely empty. Without bold buyers, without any outlet, the financial heart of extremism beats slower and slower. And the United States makes a point of prolonging the suffering. Pay attention. President Donald Trump stated that he is not denying it. He is actively negotiating. He is just watching. Time is on the side of those who have the Hellfire missile launch button. And if you think Iran's problem is just a ship sitting idle, wait until you see what's happening in the mountains of Taiwan. There is a strategic connection here that few will notice. But pay attention here. If you think this topic is important and want more Brazilians to have access to it, sponsor this video now, use the super thanks below, or use the information that appears on your screen right now. Point your phone at the QR code or the Pix number that appears here for you. Be a supporter and protect Brazil's mind. Now, the whole world is a single connected board. When the American Navy fires in the Gulf of Oman, the generals of the Chinese Communist Party in Beijing feel the tremor of the impact. The show of force against Iran calibrates China's fear, and Taiwan, the island that is the ultimate prize in the technological war of the 21st century, knows this perfectly well. At this very moment, Taiwan is carrying out one of the most impressive maneuvers in its history. It's the Hanquang 42 exercise. They are literally rolling an entire squadron of state-of-the-art fighter jets into massive granite mountains. Heavy explosion-proof armored doors close behind the planes. They deliberately shut down their mobile internet networks in 7 jurisdictions for half an hour. Now, keeping only voice calls and emergency texts, they are simulating the absolute collapse of their own society. But why hide billion-dollar fighter jets under rocks and shut down civilian internet? Why isn't Taiwan training to defeat a Chinese invasion on the first day of battle? The tactical engineering here is called second strike survival, and that's the coldest message ever sent to Xi Jinping. It means that Taiwan has accepted a harsh mathematical reality. In the first minute of the war, China will launch a storm of ballistic missiles that will destroy runways and data networks across the entire country. The island has assumed it will take the first punch and bleed, but the fighter jets hidden in the granite represent the second salvo. Taiwan's message to Beijing is brutal and direct. We accept the first blow, but you will not survive our counterattack. They watched Russia paralyzed in Ukraine. They saw Iran being economically crippled in the Gulf, and they are making sure that the political and military cost for Beijing is incalculable. It is the certainty of retaliation that keeps the free world breathing. And while high technology deters China, the poor and desperate arm of Iran tries to create chaos on the other side of the Middle East. In the Bab el-Mandeb Strait near Yemen, the Houthi rebels try to copy the Americans, but compare the level of capability. The Houthis, sponsored by bankrupt Iran, hit a small Tanzanian cargo ship that was simply anchored. They attacked blindly. It's not known what hit them, but the result was a civilian bloodbath. At least 4 innocent crew members lost their lives and 2 other Coast Guard members died trying to rescue them. The gap between the operations is glaring. On one side, you have the Houthis operating an amateur blockade based purely on blind terrorism and the killing of workers. On the other side, you have the layered architecture of the United States. The American Navy projects power with active radars, satellites, Global Hawk drones, and repeated radio warnings. They destroy an engine room of a 13,000-ton ship and rescue all 17 crew members without a single scratch. The contrast between the rule of law and crude terrorism couldn't be greater. And my friends, we are in a dark period in our country. At any moment, they might want to block this channel. That's why I've activated our backup channel now. And I want you to subscribe. Hit the bell using the link in the description or by using the QR code, which will take you straight to the subscribe button. Because if we go down here, we'll continue our mission there, so do it. Subscribe to our backup channel. Because the interdiction of the MV Vela Nova was not just the routine fulfillment of a Coast Guard mission. It was a paradigm shift in global maritime regulations. The use of Hellfire anti-tank missiles against civilian cargo ships that disobey orders represents a very serious and deliberate escalation in the rules of engagement by Washington. Americans are no longer willing to play the long game of slow diplomatic sanctions. Bureaucracy has given way to red-hot metal. The message to global dictatorships was signed in gunpowder and fire on the ocean. The United States government, protected by colossal defense budgets and superior technologies, has driven the tip of the spear to a level where deterrence is no longer just talk. It is a living, active, and destructive force on the real battlefield. Now it's your turn to go down to the comments and leave your mark on the board. Show that our analysis sweeps away mediocrity and pierces through easy narratives. Type right now the 2 keywords that define the doctrine we studied today: absolute interdiction and second salvo survivability. I repeat, absolute interdiction and second strike survival. Our mission is to bring geopolitical truth, not raw and unfiltered, but the digital ecosystem hates those who think independently. Iran bluffed, tried to test the Americans' red line, and lost the heart and engine of the ship in less than 10 seconds of flight. The big question now is not whether the desperate regime in Tehran will try to break this blockade again, but whether the next target to be illuminated by the American helicopter's laser will have a flag that the United States hesitates to fire upon. And what happens to the global balance of power when the next ship ignoring American radio calls isn't Panamanian but Chinese? Naivety costs countries. Ignorance takes away your freedom. Prepare your mind. Your protection must be strategic. And the same power dynamics that defines who sets the rules on the oceans defines who survives today in your market. Pay close attention. The most valuable thing in the world is not uranium or gold or oil. It's people's attention. Yes, my friends. And the fundamental rule of modern warfare and business is identical. Those who don't control their own narrative are useless. They are summarily controlled by someone else's narrative. Today, I see an army of entrepreneurs or professionals who are by far the best at what they do. People with an incredible background who master technical knowledge and have the best product in their hands, but who suffer from a lethal disease in the current scenario. They are completely invisible on social media. While shallow and mediocre competitors make millions just because they learned how to make noise, you stay stuck, bleeding cash and watching the system leave you behind. You urgently need to break out of the bubble. You need to stop being the passive target and take control of the laser. Projecting unquestionable authority is not a coincidence. It's military-grade communication engineering. It's the tactical application of this exact narrative protocol that allows me to surpass 50 million views every month on social media. And to install this arsenal in your mind, next Sunday, August 16th, I will hold an in-person immersion, locked in with me at my operations studio in Curitiba. But I am relentless with the numbers. We have only 2 spots available. When the last spot is taken, the steel door comes down and that's it. Well, the QR code is on your screen now, and the secure link is in the first comment and in the description of this video. Come face to face with Shimon Oliveira and ask how I got here, into your home, on your phone, on your TV, and on your computer. Yes, my friends, Shimon Oliveira broke out of the bubble. Guys, I have a fantastic recommendation for a series that premiered this week, which talks about the war between Ukraine and Russia. The Russian invasion of Ukraine, however you want to see it. United States, Israel, Iran, all involving geopolitics. For those of you who like this, I'll leave this tip on our channel with tips about series and movies. A complete curation without culture war nonsense, without whining, so you don't waste any more time looking for something good to enjoy with your family on the weekend. So it's there. The name of the series is Lioness. Everyone is asking me on Instagram, Shimon Oliveira, tell us the name of the series. It's Lioness, and it's on Paramount+. And the full recommendation, our take on this series and how to get the most out of it are on the channel. Link in the description, in the pinned comment, and in the card that will appear on your screen. Support our channels, right guys? Our backup channels, subscribe there. And if you feel that this video is important for more Brazilians to understand geopolitics, sponsor this episode now. You can do this to take this content even further. Subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and like the video because it takes a lot of work to make. Now shield your mind. Yes, shield your mind. I'm Shimon Oliveira and I'll see you in the next video. See you then.